Okay. Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you all for coming so early in the morning. I will start with thank you for organizers for inviting us to this conference. The city is great, the food is wonderful, the palaces are wonderful too. So thank you very much for this opportunity. My talk will be about, as you see, the Moorean argument, illusionism, and the common sense. As far as you know, the hard problem of consciousness is about explaining why there is a phenomenal consciousness at all. It is common to point to phenomenal consciousness by using the phrase what it is like. For example, what it is like to see a rat on the red T-shirt of Dave Chalmers, or what it is like to see green on the green shirt of Andrew Metsalov, the friend of mine. He will be presenting tomorrow. This picture was took 10 years ago in Asiat, it is Greenland. So this problem is supposed to have an easy solution. Illusionism is a solution, is a thesis that phenomenal consciousness actually does not exist, so there is no problem at all. Illusionists presented their arguments for their position. There are a lot of stuff in this area right now. Among them are coffee testers by Dan Dennett. It is classical stuff of philosophy of mind. Keith Frankish presented anomalousness argument several years ago. Dave Chalmers himself created a debunking argument. Obviously, Chalmers is not an illusionist himself, but some illusionists like Frankish or Keith Kammerer said that they agree with this argument, so we can use it against realism and for illusionism too. And a friend of mine, he will be presented after me, Artem Besedin, I guess a year ago, made an argument for illusionism. It's called a methodological argument. It goes like that the evidence for existence of phenomenal consciousness can be explained by realism about phenomenal consciousness as well as illusionism about this kind of consciousness. And the realists have no extra evidence for their position, so we have to choose the illusionist explanation just because it is conservative, just because it is more simpler. But, says Besedin, that we should stay open to a new evidence for realistic position too. So, realists should present new arguments for their position and against illusionism. I myself is not an illusionist in any sense of this word, but I'm just worried about this position, about the arguments for and against it. Nowadays in the field, the most respectful argument against illusionism is Dave Chalmers' argument, which is called Moorean argument against illusionism. My goal here is to evaluate whether this argument achieves this aim. Oh, okay. The argument goes like that. It consists in two premises and one conclusion. The premises are I'm in pain, then if I'm in pain, then illusionism is false. Illusionism is false. The name of the argument is because of G.E. Moore's argument, notorious argument for an external world. Obviously, this is a valid and maybe even sound argument, but maybe it is not relevant to criticize illusionism. He is young and even younger, George Edward Moore, the creator of original argument. And here is argument for an external world. Here is two hands. If there are two hands, then there are external things. And there are external things, the same structure. So we can compare the persuasiveness of Moore's original argument and Chalmers' Moorean argument against illusionism. Why should we do that? Why can we do that? So just because evaluating any argument implies some kind of comparison with some standard of reasoning. Is Moore's original argument such a standard? Well, that is controversial, you know, but David Chalmers himself says that he is not convinced by Moore's argument for the external world. He says that Moore's claim that he has hands presupposes the conclusion of the argument, which is that the external world exists. I myself don't think that Moore's original claim in his argument that he has hands presupposes the argument conclusion in any relevant sense of the word presuppose. However, we will start with some kind of more weaker thesis that the Moore's argument have some level of persuasiveness, and I want to find out whether Chalmers' argument against illusionism is at least as much persuasive as Moore's argument for an external world. So we'll start the comparison. The first premise of the Moore's original argument that he actually has two hands, and it seems to me that this claim looks like an irresistible object of belief in the moment when when there are two hands, when you're presenting the two hands, it will be some kind of silly claim to say that I'm in doubt. It's hard to say. No, this is two hands. It's irresistible object of belief. The skeptic obviously will say that the first premises presupposes the conclusion of the argument, as Dave says a slide ago. The response will be, no, there is no such kind of presupposition, just because the claim that there are two hands and there are external things are clearly two different claims. We should distinguish between two kinds of things, between question begging, which is some kind of fallacy in the reasoning, and the situation where the truth of the conclusion is required for the truth of the premises. Please compare two kinds of reasoning. The first is question begging, the second is not. The question begging example is about Vedic gods. For example, some guy says that there are Vedic gods. Why? Just because it's written in Vedas. Why should we believe in Vedas? Because God said them. So that is a question begging. This is some kind of circular in reasoning. But the second kind of reasoning is not question begging. There is no such thing as there is no any problem with this kind of reasoning. From the premise, the Tehran is a beautiful city, and 2 + 2 = 4. It just follows by any standard classical logic that Tehran is a beautiful city. It is not a question begging, but that is just a situation where the truth of the conclusion is required for the truth of the premise because of the laws of logic. And Moore's case is clearly the case 2 and not case 1. So let's talk about Chalmers' argument. First premise, that he's in pain, or I'm in pain. Imagine this unpleasant situation. In this situation, it is very easy to say that it will be an irresistible object of belief. So the skeptic, again, will say that the first premise presupposes the existence of phenomenal properties. The realist, as Chalmers, can respond that to skeptics that you should agree that at least it seems that there is something, it is like to undergo pain, to feel pain, and to deny this for skeptic when he is in pain is dialectically wrong, dialectically ineffectual. So the skeptic should say that he can agree in some unspecified way with the claim that he's in pain when he feels pain, but he can say to realist, to Chalmers, please don't claim that it is phenomenal pain by definition. That's okay for Chalmers and for his argument for realistic position. So the conclusions regarding first premise, the skeptic can accept Moore's first premise, hoping to give his own or her own interpretation next. To deny that Moore has hands is dialectically ineffectual to any opponent of Moore's argument. The illusionist is in the same position in the case of Chalmers' argument against illusionism. She or he can admit the first premise in hope to give it an illusionist interpretation next. And the first premise of Chalmers' argument is quite reliable according to this reasoning, so we can shift to second premise of the Moorean argument. The premise says that if there are two hands, then there are external things. The second premise of Moore's original argument rests on the thesis, which can be formulated as follows in such way. I call it the independent thesis, that objects like hands can exist even if no one perceives them. Moore also believes that we can accept the understanding of such definition of external object. Definition is like that. External objects are those existence of which is logically independent of perception. So the skeptic will says that he can accept the definition because it is just stipulation, but he will deny the thesis, the independent thesis. Moore himself should say something something like that this thesis, the independent thesis, is just a part of common sense. This is a crucial part of this reasoning. This is the crux of the reasoning. So, obviously, common sense can contain false claims. However, in order to judge a common sense claim to be false, we really need a good reasons. And through all the history of philosophy, there are no really good reasons for skepticism. We can have knowledge, so skepticism is false, according to our knowledge our day. So we should have very, very strong evidence against some kind of claim from common sense to deny this claim. So Moore can use it. Moore can use his independent thesis, so his argument succeeds, his argument works. So let's compare to Chalmers' argument against illusionism. If I'm in pain, then illusionism is false. A realist about qualia should accept something like that. I call it qualitative thesis. If there is pain, there is what it is likeness of pain. The realist needs to show that this kind of thesis is at least at the same level of persuasiveness as independent thesis. And I doubt that Chalmers or any realist can actually do that. Is this kind of thesis a conceptual truth? No, according to Chalmers himself, the problem with illusionism is not that it is self-contradictory, it is false. Why Chalmers thinks that it is false? Because of the Moorean argument against illusionism, which is I challenge right now. So he can just say that qualitative thesis is true by definition, that is analytic thesis. No, it is not a conceptual truth in any good sense of the word conceptual truth. Is the qualitative thesis a part of common sense in a way that the independent thesis is a part of common sense? And I am skeptical about that too. Here are two reasons why we should be skeptical about this claim. First, that what it is likeness, usual phrase, which philosophers after Tom Nagel using against illusionism, against some kind of relativistic programs. And this term is a philosophical term. It is very clear. If you just look on the English word on your slides, on my slides, on your screen, it's obvious. It is a philosophical term in a sense in which hence it is just an ordinary term. It is not a part of some kind of philosophical reason before Moore. So it's clear, not some kind of common sense word. It's some kind of hint that the thesis, which is formulated through this term, is not a part of common sense too. But the second reason, I guess, is more reliable, that understanding the quality of thesis is not as easy as understand the independent thesis. The person without philosophical training will be prima facie puzzled what is going on in the thesis, and he will not, or she will not, puzzled when we presented the independent thesis. We can use some kind of ordinary example. For example, I'm sure that things, my stuff, I left in the hotel right now, exist right now without anyone seeing them. It is ordinary example of illustration how the qualitative thesis works. And realists can use such kind of example to illustrate the qualitative thesis without question begging, without saying that when he's in pain, when he is red or green, this is some kind of qualia, some kind of phenomenal stuff. If he does not say that it is phenomenal stuff, by definition, illusionists can say, okay, you see red, you see green, or you feel pain, but it is not a qualia. It is just a functional state or something like that, or maybe linguistic behavior, or so on. So, what do the reason about term, that what it is likeness is a philosophical term in a sense in which hands are not is not a philosophical term. And reason 2 is about understanding. What do reason 1 and reason 2 show? Reason 1 and reason 2 do not show actually that qualitative thesis is false. It is not my point. Reason 1 and reason 2 do not show that Chalmers' argument is unsound in general. And reason 1 and reason 2 do not show that Chalmers' argument cannot be framed differently. They do not show that there are no other way to criticize illusionism. So the conclusion of this reasoning is that this kind of argumentation shows actually that if it's correct, I hope it's correct, if it is correct, Chalmers' argument does not reach that level and type of persuasiveness that Moore's argument has, argument for the existence of an external world. Why? Just because qualitative thesis, the second premise, is not a part of common sense, like the independent thesis is a part of common sense, which is the second premise of Moore's original argument. So this is dialogue between me and Dave Chalmers. This is actually a response from him to this kind of reasoning. He said that he can change this term, if I don't like it, to subjectivity, qualia, and what it is likeness is just a word. We can use words differently. That's okay, but subjectivity is a philosophical term too. It is clear philosophical term. It was made in philosophy of modern era. It is a philosophical term. Obviously, it has some ordinary meanings, but Dave should use it in philosophical sense to defend his position, so that is not a good idea. His next proposal was he can use phrase "my point of view." I should say that it is ordinary term. It is absolutely clear. My point of view, it's not a philosophical term. It is ordinary term. But the fact that I or each of you has our own points of view, in principle, can be explained, I think, functionally by illusionists. He can point out to some properties of our language, some functional aspects of our behavior, just from the fact where I'm talking, it is my own point of view, and so on. I have in mind such kind of explanation. And Dave responds that if it is right, then this kind of illusionism seems to him very, very weak, very, very weak and philosophical, uninteresting. And I don't think so. It is still an easy solution to hard problem of consciousness. And realists like me and Dave should deal with this, or say that, okay, we change our mind, we are illusionists because we just know, just don't have a good argument against this position. I'm sorry, and Dave responds that he disagree. Oh, well, that is new dead end. That is common place in philosophy. It is discipline full of dead ends. That is a new dead end. We should create some kind of new arguments to persuade David Chalmers or me which position is correct. So, thank you for your attention. Mutashakira.
Thank you, Evgeny.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have questions.
Okay.
So I am concerned of your conclusion that you said that Chalmers argument is somehow that Chalmers argument is stronger than argument because, for example, if you consider that I have two hands, I can tell you that you are illusion everything that you have two hands. And so, because of this illusion, you cannot conclude that there is a separate word. Yes. But if I am in pain, there is no way that I am an illusion for my pain. Because the sense of pain, as we picked up, the sense of being in pain is exactly being in pain. Yeah. So there would be no illusion there, and so I can conclude that the phenomenal consciousness exists.
Yeah. Can you answer from here? Okay. Thank you very much for this question. My point is that we should eliminate such kind of hallucination when we talk about Moore's argument, just because we can formulate this kind of argument in a situation when I can touch again, when I can try again, when I can ask you, do you see my hands too? I can ask Artyom, do you see my hands too? I can check once again and make this claim even more persuasive if it was original. I agree with you that it is possible that all of that is just an illusion. Yes, but in a sense that we can say that all stuff is an illusion, even if it is pain. You know that some kind of mystic says that all experience is just an illusion, that there are some kind of one reality which is no difference. People can say this stuff. You refer to the Kripke's claim that it is obvious. I don't think so. The person can make a belief that he's in pain when he's not in pain, when his doxastic reasoning is corrupted. It will be a wrong claim because he's not in pain. But imagine the evil demon using your linguistic mode of your brain to create such kind of belief. You can finish believing that you are in pain when you are not in pain. We can use such kind of very strong skepticism. It is unreasonable to think that this demon really exists, but it is unreasonable to think that when I am presenting you my arms, you can touch it. You can ask anybody in this room that you are seeing my hands right now. It is not reasonable to think that you are an illusion. So in this point, I think that claim that I'm in pain and I have a hands is equal in persuasiveness. What make the difference is a common sense. Because when you formulate what do you mean by feeling pain, when Chalmers says that it is a phenomenological pain, that it is phenomenological feeling, this is a philosophy, that is not a part of common sense, in a sense in which independence of perception is a part of common sense. In this point, it is less persuasiveness than Moore's original argument.
More than I don't believe that I have a pain. But my epistemic connection with my hand is through perception. Okay. So the epistemic access to the pain is more high than the epistemic access. So I think that still Chalmers is more powerful than no problem. I see it better. Yeah. I have another point penalty parties say the Chalmers.
This one?
Yeah. Your conversation with me, you say that I was so that it's still a solution for the hard problem. Yeah. But I don't think that illusionism is a solution to the hard problem. Just to establish that the hard problem. You want to say that there is no illusion. No, it's illusion now. Chalmers argument against illusion. It shows that there is no hard problem, not that there would be no solution. Yes. So it is not an easy solution. It's just
what is a solution? Is illusion. Illusion is an easy solution. It's supposed to be an easy solution, if it's true. And if we formulate it in this way, they think that it is uninteresting. But I don't think so. It's a solution. Maybe it is an interesting solution, but it's a solution if it is true. Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you very much, Eugene, for your presentation. I have a brief question. At least part of your argument was based on the distinction between philosophical terms and the ordinary terms, the parts of ordinary sense. I think that as you, I also have some intuition that, for example, Kohle is a philosophical term and socks are not philosophical terms. But there are a lot of terms that are in the middle, like events, for example. And of course, a lot of philosophers that use ordinary terms as philosophical terms and otherwise. So are there some criteria that could help us to distinguish philosophical terms from non-philosophical? There was a good example with subjectivity. What are the criteria to think, otherwise, besides this kind of ideas that the prefix ness, for example, make it a philosophical term. Loneliness, for example, is not a philosophical term, but it is ended with an S. So, are there some better criteria?
No, because there is no better criteria. It is not a natural kind to be a philosophical term, so there is no better criteria. So we should use our knowledge of the history of philosophy, our knowledge how the terms works, and for this argument, it should be obvious that what it is likeness is a philosophical term because of this criteria. Subjectivity does not fit by this criteria if we put ness aside. I agree, yes, it is not an absolute criteria, but that seems right.
So it's mainly just linguistic intuition?
Yeah, it's not a main, no. It's a hint that it is not a part of common sense. Do you think that it is part of common sense, what it is likeness?
Now
Okay.
You, based on your reports, that you said that without my perception, my things that I left in hotel are still there. But these are reports.
Yeah.
And Chalmers, he uses a lot of reports too. He uses reports, says I'm conscious, or there, and so on, that are common sense. If we pick a random guy from the street, he will common sensely, from intuition, say, yeah, I'm conscious, without any philosophical term or background.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to see, how is your report different from what Chalmers uses as reports for what he uses for the meta problem, heart problem, and so on.
In this level, there is. I'm sorry. In this level, there is no difference, because if we compare reports, I'm in pain, and there are two hands. It is equally persuasive, because that is it is a first premise. The problem with second premise of his argument, because his second premise says that if I'm in pain, then illusionism is false. It can be correct only if the qualitative thesis is true. When you formulate the qualitative thesis, you should use the philosophical terminology. You cannot use ordinary examples like socks in my hotel right now. You should say, I feel pain, and this means that it is qualia. It is think from just first person point of view, and so on. This all stuff is just a philosophical theory, but it is not a problem that it is a philosophical theory. There can be a true philosophical theory, but it is not a part of common sense in a way in which Moore's claim about my socks in hotel right now is a part of common sense. Maybe Chalmers can say that his source of persuasiveness is not a common sense. That's okay. He does not say so. He thinks that is a common sense. That's wrong.
Thank you. A round of applause for Evgeny.
Okay, thank you.